Hello everyone and welcome back to All Things CTF. Today, we're going to be talking about the draft. As Season 4 is coming up, we're going to be having a trailer soon. A lot of owners are going to need a little bit of advice. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion, and it's coming from someone who has loved CTF for the better part of 5 years. These are just my personal recommendations, more specifically, Round 1 possibilities and how to build around those for each team. To start, I'm going to list off the likely round 1 players, which would include ruslan, seab, Vinci, Bettini, Subnoob, Crusader, Mops, Mounds, Hornaz, Sinpins, Poke, maybe KK and Can CTF. There's a few missing pieces because some of them have become owners now, or some are not confirmed to play yet. As inside the CTF server, there is a little poll where if a player reacts, it confirms them playing in the season. Alright, and first up, we'll be going in round 1 draft order. We'll have the Darkhearts. The Darkhearts have picks numbers 1, 18, 19, and 36. An easy recommendation for the number 1 pick would be ruslan, as he won a championship and an MVP with the team, and he's won his last 11 Houses games, and he has 2 one-seeded seasons in a row on the Darkhearts. And ruslan is actually rank 1 all-time in average across the entirety of the 3 seasons we've had so far. Another recommendation is seab. He's arguably the best player in the game right now, though he's suspended for week 1, and he only has 1 Houses game on record, though he's one of the best Houses players that we know of at the moment. Immediate keys to victory for the Darkhearts includes building around that round 1, asking ruslan or seab who they want to play with and get them round 2 and 3 players that they request, because in the slots of 18 and 19, they got 2 general lower round 2, higher round 3 players that they could take if they want to. Another key is that I don't think that they should be taking any risks unless they insist upon it or don't reach or unproven players. The Darkhearts are in a very easy situation where they just gotta take one of the 2 top players, ruslan probably, because ruslan is the easier pick here, as the players he would want would be way easier to get than the ones seab wants, as the players seab plays with and trains with are players way more known in the community, whereas the players ruslan plays with are a lot more closed off and only ruslan knows them that well. I don't have a whole lot of things to say to the Darkhearts because I think they have the easiest job in the world when it comes to drafting. Granted, that number 36 pick is going to be the last pick in the draft, which has not usually turned out, but there's a lot of new players they can fill in that role and potentially be able to play a game or 2. Next, we have the Pirates. The Pirates have picks numbers 2, 17, 20, and 35. My recommendations for the round 1 is obviously seab, rather if he doesn't go to the Darkhearts or not. He's far and away the best player available aside from ruslan, and despite seab's last performance being a round 1 loss, he has objectively proven that he's one of the top players in the game, and I don't think that his former games of Warships will come into play, as it'll be way different from then. Another option is Vinci. He won a championship and an MVP with the team. He's a very safe pick here, and it's very easy to build a team around him, as the whole strategy with Warships usually, when it comes to Vinci, is Vinci's team does all the work, and Vinci does a lot of the backupping. A third option I have here is Bettini. Bettini is a consistently good Warships player. He takes over the games, and he has a very similar playstyle to Sonic, which has been successful for the team in the past. I'll keep these keys to victory very short and simple. It's sort of the same thing as the Darkhearts. You want to listen to your round 1 pick player for teammates and chemistry, maybe late round steals, and try to maybe hook up some trades if you need to do them at all. I'm gonna say that the Pirates should embrace what's worked for them and build a team to support the round 1's playstyles. Almost every season, the entire strategy has just been to support that round 1 player, whether it be Vinci or Sonic, and help them create a very easy path to victory, basically. And this is a weird one. I'm gonna say that the Pirates need to get ready and prepare more for their away games rather than their home games. Warships is the easiest map in the game to pick up and usually has the highest competition level regardless of who plays. There's not really a way you can draft for a good quote-unquote Warships team, because it feels like in this day and age everybody's just good at Warships. You should focus a little more on the away games so you can get points out of them, because the points coming from Warships are going to happen regardless of how good the team is. The Scorpions have the number 3 overall pick and the number 16, 21, and 34 picks. recommendations for the round 1 is Patrick if he decides to play. As of right now, we don't have any confirmation whether or not Patrick is going to play next season, and if ruslan and seab are both not available, Patrick is easily far and away the best option for number 3 overall. If somehow he is still available, seab would easily be the best pick here at the number 3 option. He's easily the best pyramid player in the game, and regardless of that 1 week suspension, I think that this would help out the Scorpions massively. It's possible the Scorpions could also take Vinci. It would be a little more of a desperation pick, but it can be a risk due to not having played the official Pyramid game, and considering the way Pyramid plays out, not having VC access could be a dagger. Granted, it is Vinci, we know how good Vinci is, and Vinci can adapt very well, so if this does become the pick, I wouldn't scoff at it. Something I will recommend is a potential trade. If Patrick's not available, it can't hurt to trade down and try to create a more balanced team than to bank on a high round 1 with no comms or experience. Trying for Simpins or Crusader late with like a late pick, because maybe the Bloxxers would want to trade up and try to get Vinci themselves. It's a big jump down, and other teams might want to stay where they are, because their best options don't need to be picked in number 1. So, a small recommendation there would be to trade with the Bloxxers if they need it. A few keys I have for the Scorpions would be to maybe go for newer players, unless experience for the map is proven. Pyramid is the newest league map and is mostly played by more active, newer players. The chances are the veterans don't play it as often as other maps because of bias towards the older maps. The newer players will always pick up Pyramids, and usually it's one of their favorites. But when I say proven Pyramid players, I recommend maybe like Icy or Copper, as they've both had amazing Pyramid games before in the past. I also say that the Scorpions need to prioritize players with voice chat. Pyramid is one of the most communication-needy maps, so it'd be wise to acquire players with the ability to voice chat so you can communicate more easily. A third key is specifically defense. Pyramid can be lopsided on how it flows, but with the competitive level the game is at, chances are that defense will continue being the name of the game, and it's usually the game winner on Pyramid in most competitive games. It's Chitra's first season as a drafter, and I feel like he's got a few ideas up his sleeve to make a great team for the Scorpions. The Aliens are up next, and they have picks numbers 4, 15, 22, and 33. My first recommendation for them is Fatini, as he's the only player signing up to beat ruslan and CTF on Area 51 last season, and he's one of few players to have expressed interest in playing for the Aliens. Though Fatini does run the risk of not being available for every game, as he's never played up to 7 games in a season. Another option would be seab, obviously, as seab is a top 3 Area 51 player with the best defensive strategies in the game for the map. The only way you would be able to obtain seab is a potential trade up to the first few picks, though if he is somehow available, this is the steal of a lifetime. If the Aliens do end up trading down, which isn't an out of the realm of possibility, players like Mounds and Mops are great round 1 picks for late round 1, as both are exceptional at Area 51. Keys I have for the Aliens is also defense. The playstyle of Area 51 has changed, and now players are playing more defense than ever on the tiniest map in the game. Players with incredible game knowledge and patience are worthwhile for your takings. If you do select Fatini, you can take the best player available each round, as he works with just about anyone. If there's a really good player available, go ahead, as Fatini is one of the most flexible players in the game. I would recommend trying to get Tabami without trades in round 3 if possible, at that number 22 spot. Then you can get Hugo in round 4 and complete that Aces trifecta that worked so well last season. The Illuminas are up next, and they have picks numbers 5, 14, 23, and 32. My recommendations for round 1 are that they can kinda just take whoever they feel like. Towers has consistently been the one map where just about any round 1 player level, aside from, ironically, the finalists, have done very well on. The Illuminas have very low risk taking Patrick, Fatini, some noob Mounds, Mops, or Crusader. So, with this in mind, I think that they should trade down in the first round. With so much possibilities on the first round, Illuminas can afford to trade down with a more desperate team and still land a desirable player, whilst then acquiring a much better round 2 spot. It's borderline risk-free. For example, say the Bloxxers or Knights want to move up to around the 5th pick. The Illuminas can afford to trade down and get an earlier round 2 pick and still end up getting one of these desirable round 1 players, as there's so many of them to choose from. My keys for the Illuminas are to stick to what you know. Tara and the Illuminas have been one of the most balanced out teams every single season, even with lopsided trades at times. Don't change it up now. You want to go for raw skill as well. There are players that excel better on some maps, but even their raw skill is more than enough reason to take them. Towers doesn't require too much training other than some aim practice and route running, but there's no reason not to take whoever the best available player is. Another thing is to mind the time zones. If Mounds or Mops end up on the Illuminas, players to work well with them would include Gornaz, Ken, CTF, or maybe KK in round 2, as they would have similar time zones, and Season 3 has shown that a strong duo can break barriers on towers more easily. Next is the Aces. The Aces have picks numbers 6, 13, 24, and 31. My recommendations for them include Mounds, because he was the Seed Season MVP, he's also expressed desire to play on the Aces, and you don't even really need to trade around to get him. He could fall just fine into number 6. Also Some Noob, who was arguably the leader of the team last season, who's only been getting better and has been getting more active. Also very innovative on how to play competitive underpass. Or Fatini, who was the round 1 last season to bring to the number 2 seed, and would probably need to trade up for Fatini, who's improved even more, but can still dominate underpass. Keys for the Aces include maybe finding a round 1 that'll be readily available. Aces have had immaculate draft classes each season, but have struggled to find a round 1 that can play 7 to 8 games, despite still being a top half seed each time. This could excel the team even further and possibly get that championship finally in their grasp, with an active round 1 player, ready to play all 8 games. I said this with the Aliens, but it's possible for the Aces. They could potentially trade 3rd and 4th round picks, maybe with the Pirates, and acquire Tabami and Hugo again. Not only would this work well if Mounds was the round 1 thanks to time zones, but would also be retaining an underrated duo from the season prior. It would also complete another Aces trifecta with Some Noob, Tabami, and Hugo, as these 3 all played many games together and got a bunch of points. Next is the Knights, with picks numbers 7, 12, 25, and 30. And things are going to get a little different here, because Castles is far and away probably the least known map in the game right now, and the Knights finally had their first successful season, so where are they going to go now? I'm going to throw out a weird call here and say my first recommendation for them would be Sinpins. He's the best prospect of the season by a wide margin, incredibly active, he plays consistently with other round 1 players and consistently keeps up with them just fine, and he's expressed tons of interest in playing for the Knights. He does run the risk of being thrown into a leader position as a rookie though. Another recommendation would be Crusader. He's had incredible individual performances on Castles in seasons prior, he's really good with communication and aim, and he's due for a redemption season sometime soon. A third recommendation will be Mounds if he's still available. Mounds has incredible communication and strategies for the maps, and he's convincingly won his last 2 Castles games prior. My keys for the Knights starts off with letting the round 1 take the wheel. Discuss the players to take late with your round 1 picked player to figure out the easiest way to round out the team. A late round 1 pick and an early round 2 pick can land an incredibly strong duo with a player like maybe Ken CTF, or Bio, Elaborator, or KK, or maybe even Gornaz. For Shadow Knight, I say just go for it. The best draft class the Shadow Knight had was in Season 1, without any early picks and low player knowledge. With late round 3 and early round 4 picks, the risk bar is very low for taking newer, unproven players. Another key is offensive power. Castle is one of the few maps where defense isn't always the game winner. Castle seems to be the least known map in the game, which allows for well-coordinated rushes to throw off enemies very quickly and set up game winners very early into games. One more thing is that you could trade up in round 3 if it's felt necessary, maybe with the Scorpions, Aliens, or Pirates. Range is heavily needed as proven by seasons prior, so a good round 3 pick would help out if the plan is to take a more unknown commodity in round 4 anyways. So the Bloxxers are next, with picks numbers 8, 11, 26, and 29. The recommendations for their round 1 picks at number 8 could include Mops, who has the highest proven value for number 8 pick, and can also bundle with KK or Gornaz or can very easily in round 2 for time zone similarity, an offensive player for an offensive map. If Sinpins is available, he'd be a great pick too, as he knows the map's defensive strategies incredibly well, despite being new, and very similar skill level to Mops with a different time zone. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but if Vinci somehow falls this low, it would be the steal of the season. If nobody takes him, Vinci is an absolute gimme. He's probably the best mob player in the league aside from Patrick, but Vinci is more likely to play and more likely to be available. If Patrick isn't playing this season, the Scorpions might be more willing to trade away their pick. If they are, jump on it and trade up to the number 3 spot and get Vinci. Without Patrick around, Vinci is free to dominate on Maul. My first key for the Bloxxers is to commit to one time zone. If you take Vinci or Sinpins, don't take any European time zones, and stick to more US time zones. If you take Mops, KK, Gornaz, or etc., commit to more European time zones or similar. It's simple to keep it this way and entirely possible to make teams like this with the selections available. I also think that the Bloxxers should try to retain former players. It's possible to get players like Vinci and Bio together again, or maybe get KK and MLG again. but just not all with each other. You can build a team around these experienced players by having them provide the skills needed to succeed on the Bloxxers home map Maw. And finally, Uplay, I think you should just do what you've been doing. Uplay has been, in my opinion, the best drafter over the course of the 3 seasons prior, and I honestly trust his abilities to do fine without any insider or outsider input other than maybe wars. And finally, the Season 3 champions, the Firebirds. They have picks numbers 9, 10, 27, and 28. My recommendations for their spot in round 1 would be Crusader. In a map like Volcano would be great for Crusader's skill set, excelling at rockets, and faster offense. This would also be simple to build a team around with the picks available. And also, Poke. After a wildly successful Season 3, Poke was a much needed piece for the champions of Season 3. Luckily, they are in the best position to get him back to what many believe to be his best map. Poke can be paired with Crusader, Mops, or other new players to help guide them to a leadership role or learn the strategies he had obtained from the season prior. Another recommendation would be Gornaz. He's one of the few players to have expressed interest in playing for the Firebirds. He can immediately be paired with other similar players if available, like Ken, CTF, or Mops. My last recommendation is Sinpins, because if he's available, this would be a magnificent pick to pair with Poke. Sinpins has no distaste for Volcano and would have their skills mesh into the playstyle exceptionally well. My keys here are a little different. Firstly, I just say that they should just try to run it back. The tools are available to create a team very similar to what was there last season, albeit without Patrick. A defensive, Volcano-ready team with more knowledge than anyone else is not out of the question still. Another key is chemistry. Picks 27 and 28 are good landing spots for players like Pigma, who would work well with the likes of Crusader or Sinpins. You can find players that your earlier picks will know well to create a comfortable team rather than go all out on inexperienced debuts with no connections. And lastly, defense. The Firebirds have found a good groove in their playstyle with defensive players, so finding late players to keep the game slowed down and controlled is definitely key. Season 4 is looking to me the most balanced season we've ever seen of CTF, and I'm pretty confident that team owners will put it all together and make some magnificent team. Remember, this is all just my opinion, so happy drafting to all the new owners, former owners, and owners looking to redeem themselves, and let's get ready for Season 4 of CTF.